Okay, so check this out. Check this out. Ready? Ready? Look. You can get it? Because we're dogs. Get it? I'm wearing a bow tie. Oh, I forgot. The coup de the Clem. Ba-bam! Oh yeah. Peabodying it up. I'm wearing my hat backwards so you can look at my awesomeness. And yes, these are 3D glasses if you were wondering. And probably no, you can't find them anywhere else unless your movie theater is a piece of crap and basically doesn't have a lot of people. So yeah, these sold out within, I would say, midday, 1 o'clock. They were all gone. If you see the movie, first week you should have came in. First week, bam and bam, the set, Peabody set. See, look, aren't we adorable? It's amazing, so awesome. But yes, Peabody and Sherman, a classic, a cult classic, if I might add. And yes, I've been waiting for this for so many years. And ever since I was a kid, I've loved Rocky and Bullwinkle. But it wasn't just the fun and entertaining adventures of Moose and Squirrel. Uh, it was those great side cartoons that actually caught my eye. And if you're a super sleuth and thinking stuff, you're right in thinking that my personal favorite was Peabody and Sherman. Yes. So when I happened to find out that through the grapevine that they were penning a script for a film based on Peabody and Sherman, I just lost my mind. I mean, clearly. I mean, look at me. I'm a wreck. But yes, I was so excited about one of the best cartoons from that era was finally reaching the big screen, and but I had to keep my distance because, as you know, I put a little too much effort into things, and I put too much uh, positive energy into stuff. We're thinking, oh yeah, it's gonna be amazing, it's gonna be great. I put too much for it, and of course, I was happy, even ecstatic, but I wanted to keep away because let's face it, the more, like I said, the more I put into it, or anyone puts positive energy into something, and if it turns out bad, you're gonna end up feeling worse than you already are. Trust me, it's not a fun feeling, but I regret. But I also fret my companions because Peabody and Sherman was great. But I prefer interesting and fun and maybe compelling to the description because that's exactly what it is and was. It was actually very interesting to view, especially on a kid animated film, or your run of the mill standard film. It was different. But the interesting part was that there were actually no slow parts. It was actually very continuous. There were no pause breaks or kid-friendly romantic slow parts. It flowed, non-stop action and/or dialogue. It was very fast-paced as well. So I'm just warning you, if you're a huge fan of Rocky and Bullwinkle and Peabody and Sherman, please pay attention because you might miss out on the nostalgia moments or other jokes, funny puns that shouldn't be funny but are actually great. It definitely requires a second viewing. I'm actually on my third right now. Um, 3D if possible because it's actually real awesome in 3D because it was an amazing use of 3D. Cahoots to DreamWorks for pulling off you gotta give it up to them for pulling off a great film with great use of 3D. Not a lot of movies can pull it off. Um, but now, like I mentioned before, this is a very fast-paced film. Normal kids animated films will probably top from an hour 40 to maybe 2 hour and 15 minutes. And that's just with trailers, ads, and credits. And Peabody and Sherman is at least less than that. It's at least an hour and 35. And that's with everything else plus a pre-movie cartoon featuring Steve Martin. And with that in mind, being a fast-paced film, it's actually a big problem. It made it seem shorter and rushed, which kind of sucks because it's such a fun film to watch. I'm actually serious. I'm very serious I'm serious as someone who watched Moose and Squirrel back in the day. I do recommend this film. I mean, the jokes and puns are just hilarious. I mean, the one that even comes to mind right now was they just got out of Egypt, and yeah, if you know the story, Peabody plays Sherman's father, even though he's a dog. So Sherman says something, and Peabody goes, I'm just not your typical Giza, and then he points to the get it because it's a pyramid. Just watch it. It's hilarious. The puns are hilarious. It's funny. I loved all the jokes. It was very funny, and I did catch most of the Easter eggs, if you will. If you remember the first ever Peabody and Sherman episode in Rocky and Bullwinkle, the first thing he does was, "Oh, I'm sorry, you caught me doing my morning yoga." He actually does that in the beginning of the film, which I loved because that just threw me right into it right away. It actually it was very funny and very great to watch. It's definitely a film for all ages, especially for my generation and the ones before it. Um, the the other ones before it might go different. Can't talk. It might go differently. Differently. It's gonna hit you differently. It's definitely gonna hit you with a nostalgia factor. While it is enjoyable to watch, my only issues are what I said before. It was too fast paced to enjoy more than I already did. Now look at it. Look at it was nostalgia factor. That made pinning of this film. It was actually great, and the casting too. I mean, Ty Burrell as Peabody was dead on. I loved it. It was actually after I watched that, and then I watched an episode of Peabody and Sherman when I got home. It was actually it was close to being dead on. It was actually really creepy. And then you have Ariel Winter, Allison Janney, Dennis Haysbert for a few moments, Stephen Colbert, Leslie Mann. I mean, the names. I mean, if these names don't get you to the theater, then maybe the fun writing of George of the Jungle, Dudley Do Right, and yes, and actually Fractured Fairy Tales. Maybe yes, the original are got Rocky and Bullwinkle man himself, Mr. J. Ward. He actually wrote uh, the screenplay for this movie, which I gotta say I would have loved to see him on staff. I love seeing him on staff here. But please make sure you go see this film. Your kids are gonna love it. The adults, please, you'll probably laugh more than the kids. Um, it's actually interesting saying that because there's a lot of, the last few kids films I've reviewed and watched. It's actually true. The adults seem to enjoy it more than the kids, which is great. You always want to find the kid in an adult, sooner or later. That sounded wrong. Don't take it that way. Um, but you can take it this way though. Please like, subscribe to my channel. You can do that in the description below. You can also find this in the description below as well. It is a fantastic tee. I love Jack Skellington. I love Nightmare Before Christmas. It is one of my favorite Disney movies of all time, next to Frozen. Don't judge me. But yes, please do that. And I don't know what our next adventure is. I'm hoping, I'm gonna take a wild guess. It may be Veronica Mars. I'm hoping, because I know it's definitely on the docket. I definitely want to see it. But you know what you gotta do. Stay tuned, fans.